I'm happy to be here again on Supconnect Live. We have a special weekend edition with a very special guest. I am thrilled. I'm Kristin Thomas that I get to host these 1 o'clock interviews with the amazing people of our paddling community, and there are a lot of them. So we're really seeking with this series to look at so many to interview. But today, our special guest is John Hadley. I'm going to invite him on in just a minute, but I do want to let you know that these are every Tuesday and Thursday at 1 o'clock Pacific time. That's 10 a.m. in Hawaii, 4 p.m. East Coast. Hopefully wherever you are in the world, you can figure that one out. And we do have a follow-up group on Facebook called Supconnect Live Discussions that we would love you to join. We can't show all the pictures and the videos and links to things that we talk about, so we follow up with that there. So we hope you're staying safe, staying home, or doing whatever you're doing in a safe and healthy way for all of us. And hopefully maybe this will help a bit with your sanity. So without further ado, I'm going to find John Hadley and bring him on. Or as he's known on Instagram, Bella the River Goat. You there? We're trying headphones too today, which I think is going to work well. There he is.
Hey, how you doing?
Great. I got to get with the flower program. Those are gorgeous. You have fresh flowers behind your shoulder every time.
Homegrown tulips.
Nice. Very nice. Well, there's so much to talk about with John Hadley. You're described as badass and epic dude and all kinds of good things, but really running the spectrum. You're involved in surfing and racing and stand-up paddle hosting of races. You paddle with your pet, which we're going to talk about. An unusual one. Yeah. But jumping right into it, it's always good to kind of hear how you got into were you a water person before? How'd you get into stand-up paddling?
I got I was always a surfer. That's what I always wanted to do, was surf. I liked it. I liked the whole idea of riding waves. And then right at the start, my cousin still lives in Santa Cruz, working in Surf Tech, got into stand-up paddle and got me kind of hooked into it. And it was a rather slow beginning. I listened to most people who are like, oh, I jumped right in. I bought 10 boards. I learned how to do it. I was out in the ocean. I didn't even think about flat water. I just thought, well, I want to be in the ocean, so I'll be in the ocean. And I was trying to do it. And up here, the water's chilly, averages around 52 degrees.
Oh.
And so I was spending a lot of time falling in the water. So I'd kind of start, and then I'd hang it up, and then I'd start again, I'd hang it up. So it took a while.
But you must have been pretty early. Surf Tech, Santa Cruz. Is that before 2010?
Yeah, that's when my cousin started, John Griffith, if he's out on there today.
Hey, John.
And I think I started, maybe that was the first time I ever tried it, was 2010 or 11. I'm not 100% sure. My first race I actually did was 7 years ago. It was almost exactly 7 years ago right now, when I wasn't sitting inside. So that was in 2013. So it took a while from doing even anything, even to get competent. It probably took me 2 years until I could.
Well, when you did jump in, you jumped in big, because the last 7 years you've done a lot in a lot of different types of paddling. And I think that's true of a lot of people, especially surfers. You wanted to be in the water, but you were happy surfing went. So, it needed to find its place for you. And you have found many places for it. One of the many things you're famous for is Red Bull Heavy Water. You're like our local guy, because it's pros from all over the world. And not that you aren't, but it's really exciting, I think, for so many of us to watch you, because you're from the Bay Area. You actually live in Forestville, is that right?
I live in Sonoma County in Forestville. So
In true Northern California, as you
The
remind me,
yeah,
above San Francisco.
the real Northern California. But then
Yeah.
again, the people up in Mendocino and Humboldt, they're like, well, you live in Southern California.
There's
But
that central thing too. Yeah.
we're at least above the big dividing line of the bridge.
Yeah.
So,
But Ocean Beach, it's so gnarly to watch that thing. I just, you've got a couple of your fans left some questions about it. Rob Macias wants to know how you overcome the fear of paddling Red Bull heavy water twice. And then Michael Crimmins and Melissa Austin also kind of chimed in. How in the world were you able to keep that huge smile on your face?
well, I've done it 3 times. So I've done it
Three.
all.
Oh my
Yeah, I've done it all 3 times. It's been run, and that's what I like to do. That to me is simply fun. Just the because it's there's the chance you're not going to make it, which was I didn't make it 2 out of the 3 times. I didn't fully complete the course, although I did tie with Connor Baxter last year, so I feel good about that. Not that he's over there saying, "Hey, I tied with John Hadley."
You sure?
I'm sure of it, but but as far as like doing it, it's that is one of the that's just when you start doing something, you start looking for challenges and different things to do. And I've always enjoyed going out. To me, it's fun to go out in larger surf, to take on that challenge, to see what the ocean can serve up to you, because the ocean wins all the time. You have brief victories. Oh, I made it out. I caught this wave. I did this. The rest of the time, the ocean's winning. And Ocean Beach is one of the rare beach breaks just anywhere that it wins probably 98% of the time. So I've had one of my most difficult paddle outs there was probably 20 years ago. I was prone surfing. I don't think it was head high. I think it took me 45 minutes to get out. I did get one of the greatest paddling waves I've gotten of all time.
Wow.
And then it took me 30 minutes to paddle back out after that. I got one more wave. And so that's how Ocean Beach is. So now imagine adding a whole bunch of swell, a 14-foot board, a couple of buoys, and you're going up against guys like Connor, Mo, Casper, Zane. I mean, it's like it's an opportunity.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, it's invitation only. And they wait until it's a waiting period until the surf is huge. So it is considered it's a Red Bull event. They like to make things difficult.
That's Red Bull's goal is to see, they really don't want you to they want you to survive the event. They don't necessarily care if you finish. If you finish, then you've gone on to
a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, from this huge big wave surfing side of you to the more, we'll call it your family, you are really famous for your goats. And a race that you put on, you have a pet division. And there's an awesome video. We need to put that on the Facebook follow-up of you paddling with your goat. Tell us about your goats. Well, your first one was the most famous goat, right?
Yeah.
Shiva.
So the goat that most people know me for now, Bella the goat, which is what my Instagram, Bella the river goat. She is the second goat in a goat that holds just such lore in Sonoma County. So the first goat was Chiva, which is Spanish for goat. So I got creative on the naming. And she was a goat right when I bought my house. I had a whole bunch of blackberries. I bought the goat. I thought, well, I'll get her to eat the blackberries. They say goats eat everything. And then she was going to be sorry to the vegetarians. We were going to have her as part of a party, but she ended up having a personality that was larger than life. So I made a little pen for her and started using her as she actually turned into my composter. Everything I'd get out of the garden, she'd compost. And one day I came home from work. She's standing up in the tree in her pen on top of her house, checking out the highway. So I ended up putting a surfboard up in that tree, and she would stand on that board in that tree in morning and night and sometimes during the day. And everybody that would drive by my road, and it's a busy road, it's a highway,
Yeah.
it's a commuter course, everybody would see it, and they have stories. There are stories all over about Chiva, and part of the saddest thing was her dying. The best thing about her death was I probably met 1,000 people in Sonoma
Wow.
County that told me about the goat and what the goat meant to her. And that was pretty special. I don't think that's something that most people get in their life about anything. And people from all ages, there was a 5-year-old that came up and said stuff to me, and then a couple that was in their 80s, and they had their granddaughter, and they said, "Oh, we would drive by, we always check it out. You know, we had her picture on our mantle." You had your what? So
Who knew?
and then Bella came along. A friend of mine said, "Well, you need to have a goat," and Bella came. And Bella I had her at a young age. I had to bottle feed her, and I would take her to the beach with me, and then I took her paddling one day because I thought, well, you can't just have another goat standing on a surfboard. Let's take her on. And so there she is. She's now on the board, and we do a race up here in Bodega Bay with Surf Rider. It's the Blue Water Paddle Race, the first weekend of October, and we're hoping it goes on this year. But along with the whole weekend of camping, it's kind of a weekend family event. But for sure, the highlight of the race is the pet division. And we had about 20, we had more than 20 contestants just in the pet division alone this year. And so there is a great video. And if the Mosbys are listening, hopefully they will post the video of the race finish this year, which was Martin Ramos had already come in his OC. So it's open to any craft. All you have to do is have a pet. And it doesn't have to be a dog. I've got a goat. This is an open invitation to shake it up a little.
Let's see what we got
for this year. And then the race for second, third, and fourth was Chad, Sean, and me. We all have big dogs, and we're side by side. It's a classic end to a race. And actually 2 years ago, up with Shauna Upton, another local paddler, ended up beating me, and we were lunging over the line with our pet. So I think it's a little more, the pet race is a more heavily fought battle than all of the other races.
And it already has a history. Yeah.
Yeah, huge, yes.
That is
and the Mosbys
fantastic.
just lined up and said they will share. So
love it.
Check out for the Mosbys and
Thanks,
Mosby
John.
family love.
Yep. So you are involved not just on the racing side, but that is your race that you put on there with Surf Rider, right? In first weekend in October. But there's a lot of great racing, and you do coaching and training. I know you go down to Sausalito some and work. First there's Rubicon Adventures, which I thought you had started, but how old did you say that business is?
Rubicon Adventures has been around for almost 50 years.
That's awesome.
So that was started by Bill Mashik, who's my neighbor. I actually met him. I rented a house from them, and I would drive by the house I now live in. I would drive by it every day thinking, oh, I could probably buy that place. And it was this dilapidated, well, it wasn't really worth anything. The rats had moved out. That's about how nice the house was. But so Bill had started it, and I was a renter, and then we've since become friends. And he started as a rafting company, and he has rafted all over the U.S. and the world. And we just got back from a little adventure down in Mexico.
That's right. You just went into a new type of paddling, whitewater river.
Whitewater.
Yeah, that trip looked amazing.
Yeah, it was really cool. We did the Rio Usumacinta, it's called, and it's down at the border of Mexico and Guatemala. We did 90 miles on the river.
Wow.
And that was with Sierra Rios, which is a company down there. It's actually, Sierra Rios is started by a guy in Santa Rosa which is the big town right by where I live. But the river was just absolutely beautiful. And we did 6 days on the river, a lot of class 2 and 3, and learning whitewater on a stand-up is a whole new ball game. And I've got to thank David Sartoni, who's out there in Reno. I think a lot of people who are getting into whitewater sup know him. He's the river sup guy, just a classic, classic guy.
I see him posting all the time pictures of, so.
Yeah, he's always doing something cool. Both he and Bill at Rubicon. Bill's got a few years on David to come up with more cool stories, but that's what we've been doing. So
you're the instructor for SUP for Rubicon, and then you also do some training down in Sausalito with Jen Fuller?
Yeah.
Do some coaching and.
Yep. Yeah. So for Rubicon, I do anything with that. I do a lot of beginner classes. That's what we focus on. We'll do some little downriver stuff. It's very mild downriver. We're right on the Russian River. And then we have a spot on the river where it's virtually no one's on it. So your class is private right on there. And it doesn't matter if you've never done it or done it 100 times. We'll do anything. But then I also do surf lessons and downwind stuff. But then with Jen Fuller, and if you guys don't know who Jen Fuller is,
you should.
You should, yeah. I'll let her do the introductions, but she'll just say, I'm Jen Fuller. She's easily the most badass girl in Northern California. So she's done everything on a paddleboard. She would compete in Battle of the Bay with the pros, and you would just divide by 2 to get the oldest pro's age from her age. So she's got some years on them, and she doesn't hold back. But so Jen Fuller Fitness does trainings down on Sausalito and San Francisco Bay, and every so often she invites me down to help train. So
that's really fun. Yeah. I just have to throw in, Jen is probably, our sport is young in terms of racing. If we really had a good ranking, she doesn't travel as much as I do. I think she is the fastest over 50 masters.
She's got to be.
In the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's some that are close, and I've run into others, maybe that downwinding that might have her, but she's amazing. She is, and she's tiny. I always find that amazing in stand-up paddling. But stand-up paddling you can be any shape or size to enjoy this sport, which is cool. She's
got quite a solid windsurf background.
Yeah.
And
she was getting ready for the Olympics, I believe, at one point.
That's
in time,
right.
Yeah. So cool. So life before SUP was surfing too, but you did get some questions about skateboarding, so we might as well throw that in, even though it's not water. You want to tell a skateboarding story?
I don't have too many skateboarding stories. I think I put it up on the Supconnect live page. There is a bruise. I think that was what the question was in reference to.
David Hook.
Yeah,
Brandon too. Yeah,
Brandon wanted to see that, and I actually found the picture, which I only find it every so often. The story from the bruise is actually I had taken Bill's son Rhodey to go skateboarding, and I only skate on the periphery. I like to go up there and just grind the coping to pretend like I'm doing a lipper. But they had a skate park right by where I was working, so I learned. I took Rhodey skating, and I think Rhodey was maybe 12 or 13 at the time. And I went up to the top, I hit the coping, and I just went straight down onto my hip on the concrete, about a 6-foot drop. And he comes over with these huge bug eyes and said, "Oh my God, you got to be cool." And like, it's fine. And I get up and I hobble back, and I'm big smile because, you don't want the kid to be scared.
But gritting your teeth.
I wasn't too bad then. Anyway, I missed work. I missed 3 days of work from it. And that was the resulting bruise. If you could find it changed my whole life. But so anyway, that's what Brandon wanted to know. And Brandon is actually my inspiration for skateboarding. He's my college roommate.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Morro Bay. and he was a semi-sponsored skater,
Nice.
and now does, I think you've heard me talk about Old Bones Therapy.
Oh, he's
So
on. I saw him go by. Yeah.
that's
That's him.
Brandon. That's Brandon. He does back braces and all sorts of stuff for skating to make your skating life easier.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and a quick
Fun.
good plug for him. I was having a knee problem. The knee gasket that he makes is actually for your skate pads to make it a little bit better for your skate pads and give you a little bit of resistance on the knee. I started using it surfing, and in paddling, my knee didn't hurt anymore.
Nice.
Unbelievable.
Love it. Well,
So,
he's shooting you some,
atta boy.
yeah, some good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, back to surfing. I know that that is a true love. The sup surfing. Do you regular surf too? But you, I know, threw out a story about a 20-foot surf and getting dragged down the beach. You want to tell that one?
Well,
Another
there's yeah,
another badass
multiple.
story. There's multiple.
Well, yeah, that was.
One.
I think I put up on the Instagram the one thing of the buoy readings, and I can't remember what it said. If it said 17 at 18 seconds, but that was actually for the Red Bull 3 years ago, and I think we all got dragged down the beach. But no, I've
That's
been dragged, yeah, kind of all the way in before. So you get just a few different times. Probably the most memorable was a time down in Morro Bay, or just outside of Morro Bay, and I had eaten it on a wave and got dragged all the way in towards the rock out where we were sitting out in front of. And it was probably I don't know, 100 yards straight in. Like my board had passed me. I'd passed my board. And this was before life jackets and inflatable vests. And you come up seeing stars.
wow.
But then you go back out because you can't leave on a low note. So, but there have been some good times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do
Well,
it
mhm.
in the paddling too. And we'll do, I think, I don't know if Phil's on today, but with Phil and Jeff, and yes, Alec at Rybread84. If you're there, you better be listening. And Jeff and Britt and I will go out on our paddle boards and kind of, like last year we did the what was it, 30 at 17. We tried to ride this kind of balmy out in the middle of the ocean, which did not work.
But you tried.
But we tried.
Hey, Jeremy
So,
Vane is on. Hey, Jeremy.
Jermaine, how
He
you
says you're
doing?
a legend, which we agree you are. Well, one thing I love about your whole NorCal tribe is just like the hospitality and how awesome. You mentioned Russian River. I happened to be going through, and that was a super fun race. It's like costumes down a mellow river. I don't even know if that's called class one, but it's so fun to race on a river like that because it's interesting and it's changing all the time. And you do have to pay attention to currents and shallow and, make the best use of all of that. But afterwards, there was this big barbecue at your house. And I mean, you hardly knew me, but I was invited along with the crew. And then people were camping all over your property and stuff. Just, awesome hospitality. And you've also, with different people, I've hitchhiked from Tahoe to the Gorge with
Yep.
you and John Walsh. I have hung out with the NorCal crew on our M to O adventure last summer, year and a half ago, whenever that was, which
Uh-huh.
was just another amazing one. But talk about some of those races or other favorite races of yours.
Well, yeah, the Great Russian River Race, that was what you came up and did, which is a classic race.
Hmm.
It's downriver, and that is on the Russian River. It's a pretty mellow river, and that was actually, I think it was 3 years prior, was the very first race I ever did.
Ah,
And I
yeah.
was green at best behind the ears about what I had not done a single bit of racing, and my training consisted of,
Surfing.
yeah,
Just training.
I took my 11.6 out, and I don't know, whatever. Anyway, that was it. That was my first race. That's a fun race. And then since then, we've been kind of a few different places, down to a lot of Southern California races, and then up to Oregon, and then the Hawaii trip with you, that M2O. That was actually my only second time ever in Hawaii. My first time being like 2 months prior to that for the Olokai and Patalamua races in Maui. And
That's yeah, that's amazing. What an amazing place, isn't it? And that's wild that you had double, you got your Maui, your Molokai, and your Oahu all in. And you got to do Olokai. I'm sad I never got to do that because that race, I believe, is gone.
oh yeah, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it was great. There was no wind and huge swell for it.
Oops.
Yeah.
For the famous Maliko run with
The
the
famous
consistent win.
yeah, which was about it. Just that they had it was canceled from the day before. It was postponed the day before, and then the day of the race, it was just massive, good sized swell, which is great, and you could actually get a few rides on some of the swells, but there wasn't quite enough wind, so it was basically a grind down. And then they said, well, you take a left at Kanaha. And well, I didn't know where Kanaha was. I figured, so they throw a buoy out, and I hadn't been to the reefs at Kanaha. And so I had no idea where there might be a potential wave breaking or anything like that. So I hang my little left, and I kind of slide in. I'm looking for there was supposed to be a boat with a buoy that had shifted over into the whitewash. So I paddled all the way over to this thing, and then I just got clocked by a set. And once you're clocked trying to paddle in, you're pretty much done. And in any race, you always have little goals. And my little goal at that time was, I think I was barely ahead of Yuka and barely ahead of a few other people. And I had passed Annie, little Annie Reichert. And then I look up, and here's this blonde, her hair's just flowing like a queen, sailing down the wave right past me. So it goes to show you.
Yeah, but there are, you do have the fact that you hadn't spent a lot of time there does make a huge difference. You can't come in from behind a set and know
Yeah,
how to
no,
take it, how to ride it, because you are a great surfer.
no, it's just cool to see that stuff though.
Yeah,
Anyway, to be able to see someone make it and pull it off, and she was doing it in her usual perfect style.
yeah.
So
One of my favorite things about M to O was that water and that color, and that was just such a spiritual experience, the whole thing. But somebody recommended to me that at one point when you're switching in the middle of the channel, just sink down underwater and open your eyes and look, which gave me, I didn't worry too much about it. Other people like sharks, because I have seen pictures, the clarity is so good you probably could see a shark from far away, but it's just an amazing, amazing place. That's one of my top favorite experiences. Do you have a certain part of that you loved? I know it was a neat ceremony on the beach before we started, having the whole boat and the team and trading off, jumping off with your hat and your paddle. You
I think
and John were a team.
the whole event was really cool. And the coolest part was I was with John Walsh, who's been a big inspiration to a lot of us up in the Northern California region. And, it was really cool. He let me actually start and finish the race, which was, he'd done it before and we did it as a team. And so the coolest thing was coming in at the end, he had already gotten in, he came and ran out, and then he got on the board and I paddled him in to the finish. And so it was kind of like the both of us were in there and we did it. It was a full team effort, and that's how you do that stuff, and that's how you finish.
Really cool.
When I look back on that whole race, the finish and having the inspiration that he gave me to get there and to help make it all happen, and then being able to go over the finish line with him on the front. We just done all this stuff and I was tired, but it's not too much to have him up on the front of the board.
Yeah.
So that was
the logistics of the whole thing are a challenge. So it's so great to have a team
Yeah.
we got really lucky too, having somebody there when our team. Somebody did mention, I don't know how personal you want to get, but just you have some amazing life stories about, your amazing positive attitude and smile and everything and stuff that you've overcome. I don't know if you want to share any of that or any words of wisdom or advice, or I forgot
Who
to ask you
mentioned
if that was okay to ask.
who mentioned that? No. No, I don't mind. So, and I appreciate all this stuff where people say, "Oh, you always have a big smile and stuff," and it's just because I'm having fun, and you reach a point in life, which for me took me a long time to get to, that you realize that you can have fun, or you're allowed to have fun, or you feel like you can have fun, and I probably spent and really wasted too much of my time being, say, not as happy as I could be, and probably a lot of pent up stuff, and it can get a lot deeper. And if anybody has questions, feel free to, if you want to private message me. I'm cool with that. I like talking about it, but it just a chance. I had made a conscious decision within myself that it's time to change and to no longer be angry, as it were. And there's a better way to do it, and this is a better way. And so I can, so somebody says, "Oh, how are you still smiling after you've gotten beat back 25 times at Red Bull?" And the fact that I just get an opportunity to do that now means so much to me, and means so much internally, that it's like, why wouldn't you be stoked on that and happy? And then I think there's a lot of joy that brings from surfing. To me, has always been a really fun sport. I think just riding a wave, and surfing is anything. You're riding a boogie board, it doesn't matter to me. You're riding a wave, and something about riding a wave is the coolest thing. And surfers are a tight knit, but tend to be a little, maybe say, uptight. And stand-up paddling and paddling in general, I don't, if you're on a kayak or a OC, whatever it is, it's a camaraderie. Mm-hmm. And so it doesn't matter if some guy's really, really good and some guy's not. Everybody's happy, and it's a better way and a better approach to life, I think. And it took me a long time. I mean, that was probably the first 35, almost 40 years of my life. Well,
I'm glad you made that choice and decision. And that is, I mean, that's great words of advice, that you can do that, where if you're not in the place you want to be, you can change things. Somebody just said, "Stoked is your middle name." I think that's true.
You,
yeah. You saw that was Christy. That's fun.
Uh-huh.
Well, you are an amazing guy, and that's really cool. And I not that I wouldn't have liked you before age 35, but I'm glad to know you in your choosing to be stoked era.
I was always pretty happy, but it's just definitely a better place to be.
And we do have an amazing paddling community. I so agree. So the Bay Area has a lot going on, and you mentioned your race that you're putting on at the very beginning of October. What are some of the, stores and places and races that I know it's a really strange time right now, that we might see in the fall?
Well, right now we're hoping that our race goes down, and I think, as everybody knows, we don't have any answers to what's going to actually happen in the fall, so we have to proceed. But so we've got our race, and then Mike's Paddle down in Alameda, which is a really cool spot. I had never been to Alameda until I went to Mike's place. Mike has a cool spot, and Alameda's cool, but he's doing they're doing a paddle around the island. Alameda's a little island right by Oakland. Who knew? And that is I don't have the date right in front of me, but it's in late September. That'll be super fun. And then 101 will have their fall and winter series, and that's 101 Surf Sports in San Rafael. Mm-hmm. And they do stuff in San Rafael and Redwood City. and we're not 100% sure about Battle of the Bay. That's kind of the same. That's been one of the greatest races and was actually my second race, that has been in the Bay Area, but it's logistically, it might be a little hard. So we're all kind of up in the air right now. It's mostly hoping that 101 gets their doors back open to welcome everyone and to get in some time with Jen Fuller, get down to Mike's, get ready for the California River Quest, which is hopefully going to happen as well. And,
mentioning that one, we haven't talked about you as surfer and river and racer, ultras, 100 miles, crazy man. You've done the Cal 100. How was that?
So that was last year. Emily and Jeff and Shauna and Mel and a few others talked me into it. And so I went up with Pete, and we thought, well, sure, we can do this. After we did with Pete and Mel and I we did 30 miles. And then we thought, well, okay, yeah, let's do it. And Kyle right here saying that it did move to Labor Day weekend, the California River Quest. So it was 100 miles. I had never done, I hadn't done whatever. The M2O was the longest thing I'd done. I hadn't done that much on a paddleboard, but it is downriver. The one thing I don't think anybody in that race accounted for was the wind coming in our face. So we paddled into the wind for probably 70 miles and had rain on and off.
Not easy.
And I think everybody, I included, I didn't bring a wetsuit. I was planning on warmer temperatures. That's on the Sacramento River. It's up by Redding and Chico. And you expect it to be 90 plus. And I think the top temperature was 65, which is actually probably really ideal conditions. But it was a great race. It was super fun. It's if you're interested in that stuff, it's a great distance. You can do 25, 50, 75, or 100. And the current is good. The water temp is perfect, especially if it's warm. The scenery, you get to go places that people don't go on any river. And that's what's really neat about doing a river is not everybody is living on a river. You're places where you can't access and that you only get to see certain places and all sorts of stuff. We saw deer swimming across. There were eagles flying overhead. That's pretty cool. You're riding a race. Hey, check this out.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. Love that part of the different races. So the Bay Area does have, as Jeremy just said, hopefully a really great fall season. There's a lot of stuff going on. And of course, that's not even mentioning Tahoe, which I know is a couple hours away, but they have some great things lined up too up there.
I forgot to mention that the Sea Trek Regatta happens in the middle of October as well. That's down in Sausalito. Also a fantastic, you get a few different length races you can do, and super fun race, a great fundraiser, which is what I think most races are and should be at this point.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of big-hearted people. I think charity is a big part of the paddling community, and it's awesome to see all the different things that they do. Tahoe, we mentioned, yes. The Gorge, of course, is really special. That's a really unique kind of downwinding and an awesome town, right? We love Hood River.
Yeah.
So that one, August, I think, is on hold. Hasn't been postponed. Might happen, like you said. Can't count on anything at this point, but it's nice to be hopeful and positive and think about the possibilities. Just don't get your heart set on it.
You got to think with all the wind there, that'll keep any problems from setting down. There's no sterile air. That wind's howling. And that's one of the greatest places to do a downwind in safety aspect, and then a place to end the race to get to see everybody coming in and all of that. And that was actually my sister's first race. was at the
Cheryl.
gorge.
Woohoo.
Yeah. I don't know if she's I don't think she's online, but that was her first go at downwinding. We went out there and we did a
She
class
did
with
great.
Chase and April. I don't know if April's on. She's off heading to the East Coast.
All
But
right.
she did some classes, and then so it's cool, and you get to see them coming in. You get to see everybody, and that's to me so much of the fun of the race. There's a bit about how you do. Of course, you want to do well, but it's all the people that you meet and watching all of them come in. Everybody's racing. They're racing and they're competing, but you're not competing necessarily for first prize and second prize and all of that. I mean, it's cool to get a ribbon and it's cool to do all that, but you're competing against your group of people or yourself and your goals. And, as a challenge, like to me, Red Bull, I'm not there to win it. So I am there to win it, but I'm realistic. How's that? I don't want to get in anybody's way, but my goal is to finish. So, and that's what's fun. And it's fun to watch everyone come in. And I like to do that. I like to see everyone come in. And it's like when I do my race, we're there and it's till everyone does it. Everyone's in and everyone stays at the beach. I think it makes it more fun. It's more community based and gives everybody the same bit of excitement. You don't know if that.
Yeah. We race, but it's not always about the race or the surf event. And you've mentioned all the things. It's about seeing a new place. It's about the people and the community. So I love the destination races because again, you get the whole package. Well, John, you are so fun and easygoing and seem so light about things, but your mental game to do all the stuff that you do in the surf and whitewater and ultra distance is so strong, but it's funny how you just make sort of light of it. It's such a wonderful balance. And I know you have just a huge fan club and I'm one of them. And I have so much fun talking to you. One last thing about current situation and your knowledge of the Bay Area in water access, because that's different in different places. I did a disclaimer the first time. Please don't judge. Some people are getting out, some people can't. Hopefully they're doing whatever the right thing to do is in their area. What is it like up there?
We are more or less shut down. The beaches are all closed. They were handing out tickets on cars at a couple of spots and warnings on other cars. I don't know. I haven't taken the chance. I got back from Mexico. I was quarantined. I did self-quarantine for 2 weeks. I followed the rules. And then I've been basically on quarantine. I had a little run-in. I had to get tested. So here's my news. And it came out negative. I got the result today. But now I'm back, so you have to stay in a certain amount. As far as how we're doing up here, the Bay Area's got very few cases ultimately. I think we've done a good job. I think the laying low is good. Getting on the water, I think, is also good. And so we got to figure out how to be on the water. There are a few places to access, but I think if the people that live there do it, and I don't think we're supposed to be driving down there. I've been avoiding that so far. I'm not sure how much longer I could actually handle that. You have to clear your brain out eventually. So
yeah, we are addicted to water. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said last thing, but we didn't even talk about the land part of, we're addicted to water, but you're also a gardener. You are an olive oil producer. Said something about ladybugs. Do you have a bunch of ladybugs too? Is that part of the garden?
Well, it's just all part of the organic atmosphere. No.
But I forgot my bottle. I had it last time. I'm supposed to have it right here.
Oh, here, check it out. Watch
okay.
Does it look like this?
Yes,
there
it
we
does.
Go.
And it's very good.
Yep. So St. Miller's is
olive oil. Merchants and Millers.
Is my olive oil company. I make olive oil part of the reason I moved up here to work at a winery and horticulturalist. So, and then they needed somebody to do the olives. And now it looks like we've lost Kristin again. Anyway, I moved up to Northern California to work at a winery as a horticulturalist. I got into olives from there. And while I was at that winery, we ended up growing vegetables and fruits, trees, and rye bread is on. Thank God he's on. Supconnect. Do I still have audio? Is that a yay or a nay? Anyway, so that's what I do. I do olive oil, I prune trees, and I take care of gardens and various landscapes all around Sonoma County and south, Santa Cruz, Monterey, and all sorts of other places. So I'm trying to post at the same time. Kristin is talking. And as far as the ladybugs go, what that happens is they come every year to my house. And if you look at one of the pictures at Bella the River Goat, you can see a red hot poker full. A red hot poker is the plant, Nymphophila uvaria. I might not have pronounced that right. But the ladybugs come and they're just mountains of them on there. So it's pretty cool. And Kristin I'm not a lip reader. She can write backwards though, as we learned from Susie Cooney. If somebody has a question, go ahead and type it in. I'm here and willing to answer. In the meantime, you can check out my tulips behind me. So, and up here to answer another question about getting on the water and all of that. The water itself isn't closed, but getting access is the hard part, and it's a hard part for everybody. So when you go to get on the water, don't do anything that is trespassing. Don't walk through the barriers. Don't do anything that's going to get the local enforcement involved. And I think we are going to wrap up. There was one thing about my Prius from Mel. The Prius is definitely cool. I know a lot of people don't think so. But when you're driving a Prius, it's just one of the more magical cars. You can get a minimum of 4 boards on top, 5 people inside so that you can do a downwind shuttle. The other thing too is you can get about 6 boards inside, 3 boards on top, and go for a surf. You will have any condition covered. So I might get a few funny looks at the beach rolling up, but when I start pulling everything out, it's like having a bag of tricks for a clown at the circus. So that's the car, that's the Prius. It's almost as nice as an old Taurus. Here, we'll take a little spin around. Let's just, I think Kristin is saying goodbye. I don't know if anybody has any actual questions for me. This is the Prius. This will just answer some of your questions as to what everything is. I'll give you a little snapshot of my life. And over here, there's a little plaque from the Knoll event, 2017. Inside here, we've got the chicken, aptly named the chicken. KT's talking. Let's see where the goat is. Here's Bella. Oh, this is kind of fun. There's Bella, a little snapshot of Bella. Bella. So that's Bella. Anyway, that's Bella. That's the chicken. I don't think anybody has any questions. We might be losing viewers right now. If you have a question, just let me know, or I could just keep talking, but at a point. All righty, so thank you all for tuning in. This is my new asparagus bed. And if you have questions, let Kristin or me know. There's an olive tree there, propane tank. And we will, Renee, hi Renee, hi to the whole Hoyer Nielsen clan. That is one inspirational family right there. Oh, Kurt was at the Knoll event. No, there are no surfboards. Anyway, here's a little snapshot of what goes on at the Hadley place. And Renee is back. We want a surfboard tour. You know, this is a chance to get to look at what other people do and how they do stuff. We only see each other at the beach. Check that Prius out. That is one cool Prius. There's my truck. That's for work. There's some of the boards for paddling, stand-up, rental boards, more stuff. This is the actual boardroom, old broken tow board. And then inside, we've got the actual surfboards. And Julie is doing well. Thank you for asking, Renee. And I think Karen had piped in earlier to see how she was doing. What was my favorite heavy water format? You know, I liked going from I liked both of them. I like going from Crissy Field. Well, I think it should go from Crissy Field, but it's hard to go from the national parks. Out to Ocean Beach is really cool, but you got to do it with the right tides. And then going the other way is cool, but man, if you don't make it, that is a long little bit of time. Let's see what else we have here. I'm just gonna, are there any surfboards? The Knoll event, Kurt, well, I must have met you then. We didn't even know it. The car, good audio. All right, if we don't have more questions, thank you all for tuning in. I'm gonna sign off. I'll say goodbye. We'll say goodbye to the chicken. I think there's the chicken in the background. All right, goodbye, and thank you for tuning in. Thanks to Supconnect. Thank you to Kristin, and thank you to everybody that showed up. Y'all have a nice day. Stay safe. Get in the water if you can, and get away for all of us who can't. All right, aloha.